Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. I have got one of my New York homeboys on here. You know, I'm with John McCurry. You know, John, people say, Craig, when you have these New York guys on there, you guys have this magic. And it's
Yeah.
because when you survive New York in the 70s, it's like
Yeah. Usually we have a common bond
it's
without
a
even.
badge of honor, man.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, before we get started, a couple announcements. Number one, if you haven't been hip to this yet, we're now on YouTube with the show. So if you choose to watch it on YouTube, you can. You can look at us, which is scary of sorts, but your choice. Also, I want to thank our mutual friend Eddie Martinez. Hey, Eddie, for hooking us up. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, John McCurry, guitarist and songwriter, currently based in New York City. He's written and performed in the studio and on tour with a quite an impressive array of artists, including Cyndi Lauper, Billy Joel, Alice Cooper, John Waite, Belinda Carlisle, Julian Lennon, Cher, Bonnie Tyler, who's still performing. I interviewed her current guitar player in the UK, Matt Pryor.
Fantastic. I've seen her since 1989. That's wonderful.
Yeah, she's still doing it, man, selling out arenas.
I love
Katy Perry, the Jonas Brothers, and many others. I just played with Chuck Leavell recently from the Allman Brothers. He
it.
was lead guitarist. John was lead guitarist in Cyndi Lauper's touring band in the early 80s. He performed in other bands on concert tours, including Anita Baker's Rhythm of Love World Tour. Wow, I haven't heard that in a long time. That was huge. And John Waite's 1985 American tour. Fun fact, John Waite is the #1 most popular artist amongst guitar players. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing.
I said, man, play with him once and you'll know why. Tour with him. It just, he's out touring. He's doing some stuff right now with a friend of mine, Alan Childs, on drums, who originally played with John, not the original.
Yeah, yeah.
And after the Babies with Carmine Rojas and a bunch of other great players, real slick. And Alan's playing with him now, and he posted some stuff recently. And John sounds like he's 30 years old.
That's awesome, man.
He's only 50, but no, I'm kidding. His voice is timeless. It's unbelievable.
That's
and
cool, man.
Inspiring person to play guitar with and behind it. It's just awesome.
Very cool. I got Earl coming on the show soon, actually, in a couple of weeks.
Cool.
John was also the guitar player on Alice Cooper's Trash album, and he co-wrote the huge hit Poison. That was a great song, man.
Thank you. That was a me noodling with a lucky lick, and Alice and Desmond Child, the producer and co-writer of the whole record, hearing it, saying
not
that,
a bad combo.
Yeah, that's it, right. That sounds like something we might be able to insert in this song, you know.
Dude, that was great. Great song. I love that song. He also co-wrote with Alice, I'm Your Gun, which is another song on that record. And he's co-written with Alice on, like, I looked up, it looks like at least another half dozen records.
Yeah, no, the only stuff I did with Alice actually are those two songs.
Those two songs? Really?
You know what they do, Craig? I found this looking at lists of publishing. Yeah. They re-release things. Like I'll have a minor song on a B-side of something years ago, or I played on with Carly Simon, and then I'll see her name appear many, many times as if I'm still working with her. I think
for re-releasing, yeah,
right. And it looks like so I could always just say, oh, I've written 30 songs, but actually there's only 2 I know of with Alice. So
gotcha. He's also very prolific with songs for film and TV, which he's very busy with now, including some major motion pictures and TV shows. Some of them he could talk about, some of them he can't. They're top secret. No, they're not out yet. He's performed across the globe and acted as music director for many of his tours. He continues performing and composing songs for artists, as well as creating music for TV and film. And if you are in the New York City area, we'll talk about this later, he's in a band called Sweet Lorraine, and you can check them out with Miss Sarah Schmidt, and you can check them out at sweetlorrainenyc.com. They played at the Mercury Lounge. They're playing at some cool places in the city. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show. Let me shut my phone off because I'm getting
okay. Thank you for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure. How did you first get started, like, in the music business and post, like, high school bands? And what was, like, your first big break? Because you've done a lot of good work.
It's funny. I started playing kind of late in life compared to a lot of other musicians, even from my era, grew up through the 60s and 70s. I didn't start playing guitar until I was 18.
Wow, that is unusual.
At all. Yeah, I didn't like high school. I dropped out of high school before I was old enough to drop out. Things were a little different in the early 70s.
Yeah.
I had an agreement with the principal. He said, why don't you do us a favor and leave? And I said, yeah, can you imagine that happening today? There'd be lawsuits
Oh
forever.
my God.
He shook my hand. He said, good luck, young man. I said, thank you, sir. And
Oh
I left
my God.
to pursue a career in car mechanics.
Where was this, in Connecticut?
This is New Haven, Connecticut. Yeah, yeah.
Hold on a minute. So what did your folks say? That's why.
Not much. You know, they were just. My father said, if you're going to work, get out of the house. And
Yeah.
you're a man now, son. At like 15. True story. I just said, I'm done. I'm going to bail. And so I went to work. I loved cars, and I had a friend whose father owned a gas station on the shoreline of Connecticut. I ended up staying at that gas station and working, pumping gas. Gas was 32 cents. I sound like I'm 110.
No, but I remember that.
32 cents for regular and 38 cents for premium at Gasland. And then I learned to wrench on cars. I love working on cars. I could pull an engine. I could rebuild transmissions, everything, brakes, front alignment. Went to school to learn to do brakes and front end with Goodyear. And I didn't even think about guitar until I was about 17 or 18. I always had a bug about liking, I loved music. I loved Eric Clapton, Hendrix, Jeff Beck, the usual suspects of that era, Jimmy Page. And a friend of mine, this guy Joe, who was working in construction, bought me a Gibson Deluxe Les Paul for $300.
He just bought you a guitar?
He's a friend of a friend in Bridgeport, Connecticut, selling this orange sunburst, I'm colorblind, red sunburst Les Paul Deluxe with the smaller humbuckings, not the large ones.
Yeah.
He said, maybe this will help. And he gave
How cool was that? That's unheard of.
Yeah.
He knew somebody buys a guitar.
Yeah. It was $350.
What a good guy.
Not cheap then, but he was making a lot of money jackhammering.
What a good guy. What a good friend.
Yeah.
Changed your life.
Yeah, totally.
I'm sure he knows.
He knows. I'm out of touch with him now, and I've been trying to find him through Facebook. His sister's on Facebook. We don't really know where he is, somewhere up and down the East Coast.
What's his name?
Let's get it. Yeah.
Joe
Pizzulo.
Joe Pizzulo. Man.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's go. If anybody knows Joe Pizzulo, who grew up in New Haven and was a construction guy doing jackhammering, have him get a hold of John McCurry through John's Instagram, which is GMD Town. G, letter G, M, the letter M, DEE Town. GMD Town. Anyway, that's that. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry for the interruption.
That's a great idea.
I would love, that would be great if we reunited that. That'd be really cool.
Wouldn't that be something? Yeah, I just hope he's doing well. And with that guitar, I started playing. I taught myself to play. And the joke that others have made about me, I don't think this is blowing my own horn, but I was as good as I am now in the first 12 to 16 months of playing, and I never got any better. The only thing I've learned are some chords. Like I filled in theory. I don't read. I do everything by ear. So I could play records like Jimi Hendrix. I could learn all the leads to things. I heard them almost immediately. I hit Al Di Meola or something when I was 18.
No.
Listening to that, and that I had trouble with because of the speed of his facility, and I couldn't hear the chromatics very well. But I have gotten better. But I was playing in bands in the first year that I picked up guitar because they heard me play and I could play. I didn't know a 9 chord from a 7th chord. I didn't know a major from minor. I could play bar chords, but I didn't really care about rhythm. I had to fill that in over my career in life. So I'm a little better at chords now.
I'm sure. Yeah. So let me ask you, you must have been playing guitar all day, like whenever you weren't working then.
Whenever I wasn't working, that's all I cared about until it took over, until I cared about it enough and I was doing enough gigs. I was very lucky. Some cool bands in Connecticut, cover bands, took a chance on me and hired me, knowing that I could play the head to Sir Duke, Stevie Wonder's Sir Duke. Yeah. But I couldn't play the 9 chord. I didn't know the rhythm chords. I didn't know the actual chord names to that song. So I could play da 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 da. Like that's not a problem. But everything else was a problem.
So they took, well, plus you're an easy guy to get along with, man. I can tell you, right? And I'm sure have you always been like that?
I just love to sort of be open and, have a good time with people. Because compared to what I was doing, music was so amazing.
Yeah.
To do this stuff, I never took it for granted. I always thought, I don't deserve this break, which did come back to bite me later in my career when I thought I don't deserve any of this. When I started doing very well and making a good living from it, that's when I started beating myself up a bit.
Interesting, man. I want to talk about that after because I'm interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, let's talk about it. You want to talk about it now? Or you want to talk about it afterwards?
Sure. I don't know if you want to get out of chronological order because I am 110, so we could be here for days. Just
no. So let me ask. Okay. So let me ask you this question, and you don't have to answer if it's too much. You started. So you basically inadvertently sabotaged yourself.
Oh yeah, yeah. Inadvertently, I started as things got in my late 20s and 30s. I started to think, wow, you know, I was making enough money. I was making stupid money to me, not stupid money in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
but enough money from touring and then some commercial work that I was lucky enough to be thrown into these rooms singing, you know, we're American Airlines doing what we do best. And I'd get a check. And I thought, oh, this is just great. So the partying that I had been doing, a little drinking here, a little whatever there, I started to attack it. I started to do it. And then I realized that as I drank more, I was thinking I didn't think I deserved anything I was getting. You know, I didn't deserve
Okay.
the pile of checks coming in, these residual checks from things, these Screen Actor Guild things from doing big television shows with major artists. I don't think I ever caught up. My brain hadn't caught up yet with where I had ascended, you know.
Yeah.
Still a sideman, but working with, as you know, some pretty big names at the time. And so I fought the demons for years with that, thinking I didn't really deserve. Yeah, in my mind, I was still a high school dropout who should have been wrenching. I might have been managing a Goodyear tire and rubber, but I shouldn't be writing the music for their theme, you know.
How much was that was booze driven, and how much of that was like, which came first, chicken or the egg? Did the booze come to deal with those feelings, or did the booze come to and created that?
I think so. You know, it was under the guise of everybody would have a beer, whether we were watching football or doing whatever.
Yeah.
But with the booze sort of, it was self-medicating. It was not to drink with the buddies. It was, I would always keep going, and just, you know, it took a real toll. So I think I was self-medicating more than just drinking for pleasure ever. You know.
Did you get sober? Or
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sober now for 2 years. So.
Congratulations, man. Good for you. That's awesome.
It's made a difference. That's probably why I'm doing more things now. I like to think I have the energy.
Oh, there's no doubt, man. Come on. There's no doubt it's because of that, man. Yeah. You're. So let me ask you this. And again, this is deep shit. Did you feel, why do you think you had those undeserving feelings?
I think it was just, I think some people are sort of programmed like that. Maybe because I went my own way, like dropping out of school so young, you know, and my father and mother, I love my parents and I've remained close to them till the day they passed. But my father was very tough guy, World War II vet, born in the 20s, and he just said, if you're not going to work, get out. You know, get out of the house, which I wanted to do. So, but I think those feelings of, I created my own sense of a low self-worth. You know, I don't think I felt any of this should ever amount to anything, because I didn't do what most of my friends did, or even my sister went on to do. You know, my sister went to law school, became an attorney and a prosecuting assistant district attorney. And my father was a very successful engineer, architect, you know, design things, you know. So I came from
these inferiority things in your head as a younger. Yeah.
And then, my kid will, let's see, he'll make it into his sophomore year of high school and then go work in a gas station. Yeah.
Which is not a big deal today when you look at that. Sure. Which is like a very honorable thing, and you make good money doing it, actually, as far as, quote, non-college.
At 16, I was already making $250 a week, you know.
Which was big back then.
73, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting, because I've struggled with that, with those undeserving feelings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard to unwind that.
It really is. And you can, and then as one gets older, which I have, and you're not doing as many things as you used to do. So in other words, not forcing you to get on a plane. I got to go to LA and do this session now. It's easier to sort of sit there with all the social media and have another drink, you know?
Yeah.
It becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. So.
Do you know there's now I read an article about a year and a half ago, probably. Do you know the DSM book, like for medical codes, that it's just like a fucking phone book sized list of medical classification. So like for insurance billing purposes.
Oh wow, no, I don't know that.
Okay, so it's called the DS. It's just like when you're whoever fill in the blank doctor, therapist, even there's a code in there. Why are you coming? Submit it to insurance. It's
I see.
There is now a DSM code for people who have anxiety and stress over social media.
You're kidding.
No, I couldn't believe it because of so many people, posting on, here's my wonderful life. And, I went here and I went here and this is my wonderful relationship and blah, blah, blah. And other people who are like, fuck, man, I'm pretty miserable. Like this is making me even more miserable. Everybody else has these things and I don't. So there's actually a DSM code.
And a code for that. That's just absolutely perfect. Wow.
Yeah, it is.
People get depressed during the holidays because if you don't have a lot of family members.
Yeah, I guess. Now I wonder if
every day.
Yeah. Instagram wasn't that big when I read. I wonder if they have separate codes now for like Twitter,
Twitter,
Instagram, and Facebook. Well, his depression was really not Facebook; it was Twitter.
It was Twitter, yeah, and Instagram's a separate category from all of them.
Yeah, and maybe one gets reimbursed at 50%, one you get the full 80%, whatever.
Was the photo the trigger, or the events that people were describing with?
Yeah, or it was a video. Is that another code? But so I understand that, man. I've struggled with that myself. It's not an easy thing to unwind. I'm really happy you got sober, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, me too. It wasn't like I was falling down drunk doing it, but it was absolutely. I realized it was interfering with any of my abilities to feel good. I didn't feel as good having any drink, even a glass of wine. I switched to wine instead of this, thinking wine is better. At the end of the day, if you drink too much of anything, it's a bad thing,
Well, even if you were falling down, who cares? As long as you got to bottom somehow.
Right. Yeah. And
great.
Because I never did that, I think it took me a little longer to get the wake up call because I never really, became one of those guys hanging out porn,
Yeah, but everybody's like that. That uses something. It's like, oh, I got this. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I have not gotten sober. I just have a lot of friends who have, and I believe in these programs very much. So I think they should be teaching the life skills that they teach in 12-step programs in school. Frankly, instead of like Chinese history, I mean, seriously, especially nowadays, you don't need to know that, but you do need to know how to get along with people, how to feel good about yourself, how to have coping skills to help you deal with shit. I mean, that's like a lot more important in my mind.
Right. Social media, depression,
social media, anything, but you need to, how to, weigh things and how to ask for help, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's way more important, man.
That's a good point. See if anyone's listening.
Yeah, man.
At that point.
Thanks for sharing it. I appreciate that. Okay. So I don't even think we got to your first big break.
First big break.
Yeah. We didn't even do that. Well, so they started hiring you in New Haven in cover bands.
Yep, cover bands, and then one of the bands I worked with, we got a big gig in New York City at Kenny's Castaways.
Kenny's Castaways, yeah, man, I used to go there.
Kenny was a good friend of mine. He looked after me when I moved to New York. So around 1979, I did a gig down in New York, 60 miles from New Haven.
Are they still? Kenny's is still around, isn't it?
No, it closed about 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, it did. Okay,
maybe a little longer. Time flies by. The Bitter End is still there next door.
Right, the Bitter End. The Bottom Line is not.
The Bottom Line's gone. That's something for NYU now.
Right. Everything's something for NYU down there, man.
NYU expanded as the city's changed, and the clubs are all gone.
Yeah. Kenny's Castaways. Had many a beer there.
Yeah, that was a fun
really fun.
Really fun place. Yeah. Really liked it. So we played there, and I met some players at New York where everyone would watch everybody play. Then I moved back. The girl I was dating at the time, my high school, to drop out high school for me, but her, after she graduated high school, my sweetheart, and she wanted to move to New York. And I said, I don't want to move to New York. I'm just starting to play guitar now. I like Connecticut. I swear I grew up. I can drive around. I was terrified of New York, to be honest with you.
Really? Why?
I heard so many bad things about it. Even though I grew up only 60 miles from it.
No, it's a different world there. You lived in a nice, really pretty place there, man.
Yeah, New Haven, or even, which is not, like as idyllic in the rich part of Connecticut is Greenwich and Stamford.
Yeah.
More of the working class, New Haven County. But every time I would drive in, and you remember the city, you're a city
Oh,
guy, in the late 70s.
in the 70s, it was so violent, man.
Different
So
place.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it used to scare the shit out of me just driving in. I prayed through the Cross Bronx that my car wouldn't break down.
Oh, but you know what's really funny? Because now that I've been in Florida for a long time, when I first came down here,
Yeah.
I always used to say I'd rather break down on the Cross Bronx Expressway than on some backwoods road, because in my mind,
that's true.
there's people.
That's
And I
people.
could talk my way out of something, but like, what am I going to do? It's some like deliverance shit is happening.
Yeah,
It doesn't happen.
A bog monster comes out and in the
Something, you know, but in my head, because this was just so unfamiliar to me, you know. But I totally get it. That Cross Bronx is wretched, man.
Because to me, I'd see the cars. Remember, there used to be cars on the side of the road burned out or with their wheels taken. I'd drive by a week later, and the thing would be up, and all the tires would be gone. I'd be like, "What's left? Oh, the hood next time."
Yeah. That's very true, man.
So anyway, I moved. My girlfriend convinced me we should go here, so we moved to New York. And in January of 1980, we moved. Stayed with a friend of her, a family friend of hers in Long Island City, Queens.
Oh, cool! It's nice there.
And my first thing I did was show up with my guitar and I think a hard shell case to Kenny's Castaways.
Awesome.
And met the friend that we spoke with before the interview began, Jeff Carlisi, my closest friend. Musically and otherwise, in New York City, and he and I would wait to sit in and play with different people that were getting up, sort of an open mic thing.
Yeah.
Played with. From there, I just started working up and down, playing pickup gigs. You know, sometimes at CBGB, sometimes at Kenny's or the Bitter End. I think the Bitter End was called the Other End for a minute then, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure, but.
Did you ever run into Blues Traveler at CBGB's?
I years later met John Popper.
John Popper? Yeah,
John Popper, because he actually, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but he did some commercial work. He would come and blow amazing chromatic harp on commercial stuff we did.
Interesting.
Into the 90s.
Yeah.
I met John before I even realized it was Blues Travelers.
Yeah. I had Chan on the show, and he said that they grew up musically all in the East Village there, and they had a place. They were living in Brooklyn in this hovel. It was awful.
I didn't even know that. I always thought of John, I thought of him as like a South guy because he was cool, like a Cajun. I thought he was a New Orleans guy, John.
No, they were all from Jersey.
From Jersey, and then living in
and they lived in Brooklyn. They played in, and he was telling me the conditions they lived in were so deplorable. It was totally disgusting. He was saying.
Even then, I can imagine. Yeah, 80s, 90s. It was pretty funky, especially in the boroughs.
Yeah.
There wasn't the Williamsburg we know now today.
No, there was no gentrification. So sorry, man. Okay, so you played at Kenny's. You started playing at open mics.
Yeah, open mics. You know, sitting in with anybody who had a band, any young artist that would say, "Need you as a guitar player, $25." You know, and sometimes Jeff and I'd get to play on things and together, or we'd go separate ways. I think. Keep mentioning Jeff because he was so close. He was such a generous guy too. He would say, you know, he had more connections than me, so he would help me hook up with bands. I can't do this. Maybe you want to work with this guy, or I'll put your name in. And the first artist of a sizable artist that was a signed artist that Jeff hooked me up with was a guy named John Poussette Dart, and he had a band called the Poussette Dart Band. He had been signed in the 70s. He had some hits, County Line, Amnesia, other things like that. I think he was Warner Brothers, I'm not sure. But he was signed, and he wanted Jeff Golub to play guitar with him for touring up and down the East Coast. And Jeff was busy. I think Jeff had already gotten Billy Squire's gig at that point, guitars for Billy. And he suggested me to John Poussette Dart, and I ended up doing John's touring up and down. We played up to Maine, down to towards Florida. So that was a big deal for me.
That's a big deal, yeah.
And to this day, John Poussette Dart and myself and my girl Sarah and I are working together, writing stuff with John now.
That's cool.
Singing on some of his stuff. He still lives around the area here.
That's awesome. His father
was a famous painter, Richard Poussette Dart. He was a famous artist. Passed away.
What did your dad say once you started getting these gigs?
He was, he was not a big fan of me going. That was another thing that didn't help. My mother explained it to me. She would take me aside and say, your father's very worried about you going to New York. He would be too scared to do what you're doing. So when he says you're going to go down there and cheat death on a daily basis, he really cares about you, doesn't want you to go down there and get hurt.
Right. It's nice.
Even when I started doing those gigs, we'd have a little bit of phone conversation with Dad, and it wasn't until I got the Cyndi Lauper gig in the early '80s, something that had some visibility then, which was big visibility.
Yeah, it's huge with Cyndi. God.
Clubs, and even Cindy's tour, when that first tour began in early '83, we were playing a place called the Ritz in New York.
Yeah.
Because Webster Hall had become Webster Hall.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's, I think, reopening again. Jay-Z or something.
Yeah, I saw the Ritz is open. I saw an article about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's they salvaged the place once again, but I think it's Jay-Z there. Looks like they're having big names come in and do stuff, which is cool. It's on 12.
That's good.
Yeah. So we play that, and then as Cindy's record broke, as that Girls Just Want to Have Fun record broke, we ended up finishing that tour playing like, Radio City Music Hall, and then the Garden, and then giant places, and then we did the Johnny Carson show, the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
With, Dick Clark's Solid Gold, and we did whatever big TV shows there were then, which were funny. But remember, there were very few things to watch. There was a little bit of cable and all network.
Yeah.
So we did the Carson show.
That must have been huge for you.
It was ridiculous.
Just playing the Garden too, as a New York guy, that must have been great.
And terrifying, because I had come from nothing. Cyndi had been doing it for years, but she came from a band. The biggest thing she had going, I think, was Blue Angel. She had a band, sort of rockabilly rock. So she wasn't sure what she was doing. So when this broke for her, this was all magical and new and high pressure, gig to go from, literally playing little clubs on the same tour and ending up in this giant arena, because that record just went through the 7 million copies or something in the first.
Oh, who played on that record?
A bunch of different people. The producer is Rick Chertoff. And he brought in the guys from the band, the Hooters.
Oh, Eric Bazillion.
Eric Bazillion and Rob Hyman and guys from Philly. And I don't know if Rick's from Jersey, Rick Chertoff, the producer.
But they're from Philly. Eric's in Philly, right.
Created the whole thing. I think I know my friend, another close friend of mine, my current closest friend in New York City, Neil Jason, the amazing bass player. He played bass on several cuts on that. And I think a lot of the drums were programmed, maybe by Jimmy Braylauer, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I don't know that.
Yeah.
And Anton Fig, I think, played some drums.
Very cool.
Comes along with the Len thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's funny, I got Eric's coming on here, I think, next week.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We're friends on Facebook, and we talk occasionally, messenger each other. But
nice guy. It's really weird. This is the second guy I've interviewed. He goes, "Hey, man, where do you live?" I'm like, Tampa. He goes, "Are you near Clearwater?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's like 25 minutes away." He goes, "We haven't played in 35 years, but we're doing one show in Clearwater."
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's the second guy I've interviewed. I interviewed and he's like, I'm like, "Yeah, dude, we'll hook up." He's coming in like in a month or, to town. And I think he's playing Orlando too. I had the same thing with Jamie West Oram from The Fix.
Okay, wow. Yeah,
he's from England. He goes, "Craig, I have one show in America. It's in St. Petersburg." I'm like, "You're fucking like, it's Tampa's not like this is not like the Mecca for music area. So like the likelihood of
no kidding. St. Petersburg and Clearwater. Yeah.
It's like I go there all the time. We spent the weekend over there. We just Ann and I. Yeah. And I was like, just like, weird. Like, I'm happy. It's great because I get to meet people in person after I interview them, which is always great, but it was, and then I get to see them play. These guys are all great players. It's just weird. And so anyway, you might be winding up in Tampa here. You don't know this, but
hopefully, thinking as you're talking, I hope I have a gig down Clearwater at least.
The odds are in your favor. Well, if you do, you got to let me know, of course. Okay. So getting hooked up with that led to Cyndi.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's a hell of a first gig.
Yeah. And that was an off the street audition. That she was auditioning for guitar players, and there was a drummer who had auditioned. It's a friend of mine. I don't know where he's gone. His name is Robert Medici. If you're out there, Robert, thank you. I did thank him at the time, but he didn't get the gig. But she was putting the live band together, and I think basically she liked the way I looked, because back then I weighed about 130 pounds and I had bright red hair, flaming red hair. I looked
like her.
Yeah, but even mine was in this natural sort of bozo color. Hers had a mixture of cool colors in it. She had, I'm colorblind, but she had like purples and reds, and she had all kinds of cool looks going on.
Well, yours is real though. Hers,
right red. And I think she looked at me. I don't remember if I played one of the songs correctly or not, Girls Just Want to Have Fun was in F sharp, and I played the triad. Now we were done. It wasn't a guitar playing gig. It was
right.
Looking, and I could sing, and I sang. I'm a good, if I may, a good background.
Good background vocals, great.
So, and on Time After Time and other things that I'd sung, it became sounded like we were all part, like we were a team. And
That's great.
I featured because a lot of the songs were singing one-on-one with her, with the band. And the band was great. Sandy Gennaro on drums. We'd work with Billy Idol.
Yeah, I know that name.
Yeah, Sandy's in Nashville now. Once again, I feel like I'm in touch with him, but I haven't actually probably physically spoken with him in 25 years. But I know he's alive and well and in Nashville, and he just did a gig with Mark Farner, who used to be in Grand Funk.
Okay, Grand Funk, yeah.
Michigan, Wisconsin, I think. So Sandy, I am paying attention if you see this.
That's right.
And Kenny Hairston, who's passed away, was the keyboard player. He was from a band called Steel Pulse and Mtume, and a guy named John Kay on bass. And John is a Connecticut alumni, John Kay, and he, not Kay from Steppenwolf, John Kay, and he had done work with David Bowie, played on Johnny Carson with David Bowie, did Ashes to Ashes, I think, back in 80, 81 or 2. And we were the band.
That's pretty cool.
We were the touring band for 2 years, 2.5 years. The next record, the rest of the band went different ways. I never toured with her again, but then I worked on the second record, True Colors. I actually am on that record playing.
That's cool.
Various cuts in background singing with her. And then I did records over the years with her with different producers that she went to. So it was fun.
So you have an ongoing relationship with her. So that's a big thing. That really, that's not common, as you know.
No, I know it isn't. There's a couple of other artists that I'm fortunate enough to work with that I'm still in touch with, John Waite being one. We wish each other happy birthday every year as we get older and older.
That's very cool, man.
Which is better than the alternative.
Yeah, hell yeah. Are you kidding me? How did you get as much as you've been playing, I got the sense that you've been pretty prolific as a composer at the same time.
Yeah, I absolutely backed into it, like I backed into playing guitar, picking up guitar, being given a guitar to play. Same sort of thing. With John Waite, it was a communal sort of thing. So he would say, can you play this? Do you want to join in and play this song here? Or I've got this groove. That's how it starts. And John Waite was cool, old school. He'd been in the Babies, he'd been in bands where there were always bands. It was a band. Right. So even though I was a hired gun at that point, replacing Earl Slick, I think at that point, for his live band in 1985, right after Cyndi, I went to work with John. John would say, "Oh, we're going to do some recording, but let's work out some songs." So he would say, "What do you think of this?" And I would add chords. It started like that, and do a lick, and then he would credit if the people you were working with were mensches, they would say, "Yeah, I'm putting you on as a writer on that song." So it absolutely started like that.
I've met more people. I've heard of some specific horrible cases where people were cut out.
I've had that happen. I'm not going to mention names, but where I specifically was asked, and then I interjected and because it's hard. Imagine if somebody you liked, or even if you didn't like it, but they're a big artist. They say, "Craig, I've got this thing. It goes like this. And what do you think? Can you hear a B section can you hear this going anywhere?" And you're not going to sit there, right? You're going to say, "Oh yeah, how about if we did this?" Because I'm, genuinely excited,
Yeah.
Then you find out there's no writing. There never will be writing. And, now sign this contract. So that's
wow, that is horrible, man. That is genuinely horrible.
Yeah. I just figured chalk it up to, I'm going to move on, and,
well, you don't have a choice, but it's almost like that being said, look at all these guys in Nashville. I've been in a studio in Nashville watching sessions. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, these guys, in some cases, literally write the whole song effectively. I mean, they'll come in with a melody, depending upon how skilled the writer is.
Yes.
Whoever booked the session. But the session guys
are writing.
Basically, yeah. It's like, I always have this expression, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Well, these guys can.
Yeah, they do. They can polish a turd, I think.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I was there, and this young girl, not any fault of her, came in with this thing. It was like, God, what the hell are you doing? I mean,
pedantic.
And these guys made a song out of it.
Right.
And they routinely do this on a daily basis, and you don't get credit. This is part of the.
Yeah, that's another reason I think I've heard artists say they love working in Nashville, because it's magical. And I think it's magical because not only are you getting some of the best session players in the world, you're getting their input.
You're getting free writing.
Songwriting. It's like a great amusement ride. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the guys that are there, and they know that's just the job. But I also think that's different when you have a relationship with somebody as a band leader, and you're called in and you say, hey, can you help me with, they're asking you for help.
Yeah.
That's a different situation. That when those guys expect that to happen, that's what they do.
Right.
It's different expectations.
Yeah. Especially, and I've been writing like with John Waite and a few others. So I didn't see that one coming, but there was enough warning that I was able to extract myself from the situation. There
Good.
have been a couple of other events where I've actually written things that went on the record, and they said, we're going to give you money. Don't worry. And
don't worry.
And I got a lump sum of money, and the song ended up being a big hit. And I did get $25,000 payout. But back when I was, and don't forget, the guy that I am or was, and still am, but I've learned something. I'd be having another drink, do a shot of Jack Daniels, say, it's all going to be good. Don't worry about it, man. Thank you. So That was my payment. So there's songs out there, which I can't mention to you, but I know, and a few close friends know that my name should be on, and I should still be getting payments from. But $25,000 seemed like a lot of money to a schmuck like me.
Oh yeah, of course. That's why they did it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, don't worry, we're going to take care of you. So I learned quickly, and then I made more friends in the business, smarter than me, wise people, who said, "My son, you can't do this, 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 and this," and I learned quickly.
So do you get to the point where you say, "Hey, listen, I'm happy to write with you, but let's get up a writing arrangement," or do we have an agreement that this is, we're doing a co-write here, or?
Yeah, I did, and I was fortunate to work around great producers / writers like Desmond Child.
Oh my God!
I started playing on Desmond's demos. I think there was an MCA. I used to be signed as a writer. I had a publishing deal with MCA.
Okay. That's huge.
It's now like Universal. It's become 5 different companies. I have to keep track of where my old publishing even ended up. And I think he would work at the place on Broadway, 1776 Broadway, and he said, I need a guitar player just to play demos for me. And
is that like the Brill Building or something like that?
It was a publishing. It's close to there, but it was where a lot of publishers and entertainment lawyers.
It's like 2 blocks away. I think I know. Yeah, I've read all about this, that there's another building real close by.
They had a nice little 24-track studio in there for the writers to come in and demo their stuff, and an engineer would be on staff. And so I would work with Desmond on stuff, and I ended up doing a lot. He was producing so many records then. This was after his Bon Jovi success. Living on a Prairie was huge already.
We did Aerosmith.
Yeah, and this is
same era. Yeah,
right. Before Aerosmith and after Bon Jovi, he used big records, first record he did. And he did a bunch of other stuff, and he was a solo artist. But I learned with him, he was a big writer. He and Diane Warren were friendly competitors, both writing everything that was happening then. And I would be the guitarist on a lot of his records, but he always made it clear, like he produced the Alice Cooper record. If there was me with a guitar, just helping to help them map out stuff while he would play piano, this is not a writing session. So I would not be asked to contribute. He was very clear. Other things, he would say, we're going to sort of do this together. And then he would divvy up, he was very democratic.
The writing credits.
The long story is that Desmond would always say, if you're doing this, you're going to be taken care of. And he always did, whether it was Poison. And that was just me playing the lick randomly. And what is that? And so, they made me part of it.
But it wouldn't have happened without that.
Never, yeah. Alice was looking for a song that stylistically that fit. And that was a noodle exercise I used to do just to stretch my fingers.
That's so cool, man.
We were already doing the record, and they were looking for one more song. Alice came to Desmond because Desmond was having a success then, still is, having a success string of hits and writing, and he had written rock and, I don't think he had done Love in an Elevator yet. I'm confused, but I think, so Alice hadn't had a radio hit in a long time.
Yeah.
He was a doll. He was one of my favorite people.
Alice.
Oh my God. He was just the nicest guy.
That's cool.
Yeah, I spent I think Super Bowl of '89 or '90. He came over to my place. So I used to live near Gramercy Park, and my girlfriend at the time. He came over for a Super Bowl party with the guy.
How funny is that?
Yeah, he's just smart, funny, charming guy. I've lost.
So you and Alice Cooper were watching the Super Bowl at your house.
Super Bowl together, and the other interesting thing was he and I walked around Soho and stuff together while we were doing the record. He was the most famous, the most identified person I've walked anywhere with, anywhere, and I've been lucky enough to walk around here in LA with some pretty famous people, from Cyndi to just big artists.
Did he get outed?
He got mobbed. Craig, we were like walking down in shitty Soho at the time in the '80s.
Yeah.
Soho. There wasn't Soho of today, and cars going to Jersey must stop. People were getting out of their cars, and he was not in makeup. He had his hair up under his hat. It looked like a guy with black hair. So
he was hidden, sort of.
Yeah, and people were, Alice Cooper, what the fuck? And he's like, we got to get out of here. I said, you didn't tell me how famous you still are. He said, I didn't know. So
wow.
Pretty awesome.
But New Yorkers, people are pretty cool about that.
Usually totally chill. I've walked. You wouldn't believe the people I've walked a block or two doing records where I would just be the guitar player and so let's go out and get a bagel, or I'll take you for a beer.
Yeah.
And no one would even, if they notice, the drill. They look and they just nod or they don't look at you. Alice was attracting. I know it's because we were down near Broome Street where there was where cars are headed back towards Jersey. Whatever it was, he had a fan base there of, I couldn't believe it. I said, let's get you out of here,
Holy smokes. That's cool. It's nice to hear that he was but that goes to what we talked about before we started recording about how, the people at the top of the food chain generally are just very nice people.
Very nice. They're not, if they had demons, they've exercised them at that point, and
or they take responsibility from them. They don't make their problems your problems.
Your problem, right. And just really make you feel good.
And you look at a guy like Desmond Child. That I like that. He was very clear about this is going to be that's like very fair because you know what you're walking into one way or another.
Yeah, and
I think that's really mature.
Yeah, he's just wonderful. He was never. It wasn't precious or possessive over it. He'd share in the room, or he'd say it's going to be 25 for you on this. Are you comfortable with that? Or 33 and a 30. It was never. I always felt good about that.
That's great, man. It's really good to hear. Talk about Julian Lennon.
Yeah.
How'd you get hooked up with Julian?
Through I met him right after his first record came out. Do you remember that? And
that was kind of big. This first record.
Huge. It was the biggest record I think to date. Although he's been doing music since then, Craig. That's just so amazing, so wonderful. That it just isn't getting out there. Doesn't get out there. He'd like it to get out there. He just continues to make absolutely beautiful music. And I met him when my gosh, I think I know he's quite a bit younger than me, 7 or 8 years younger than I am. And the producer that did that record, Phil Ramone, was a producer that I had already been working with. Another part of my blessed life that I never understood. But Phil heard me play guitar after Cyndi Lauper and said, you're going to do this record, this record, this record. I introduced me to Billy Joel. So I ended up working with Billy.
That was before Tommy Burns, I'm sure, right? Tommy's been with him for like 28 years.
That's right.
That's the best gig in rock and roll.
Before Tommy, yeah. Billy
don't make any albums, sell out the Garden 3 times a month or something like that.
Amazing. Billy was looking to to replace a few members of the band, and unfortunately, that was my task for a little while. I'm friendly with the original band members. Liberty DeVito, the drummer, is a close friend. We're on Facebook together. We talk all the time. But at the time, so Phil Ramone heard me play. This is my new gunslinger guy, and they said, "Come down to the studio and meet the young man. Meet John's son, John Lennon's son." And came and met him. And Julian and I went out to the place called the China Club.
Oh, everybody went there, man. That was a musician's hangout.
And I went there with my new buddy Julian.
That's so funny. Oh my God, everybody went there. Every musician I've spoken to from the city in that era hung out at the China Club.
If those walls could talk. If those walls were,
I'm sure, man.
You don't even want to know. There's an entire there's a 10-year book and a mini series that I don't know if anyone would want to see except those who were there. But
what's it called?
the China Club. Yeah.
It's a miniseries on TV.
No, I said there should be
Oh,
one.
there should be. Okay.
The miniseries, no one except those who
Yeah.
would ever want to see. But so Julie and I went out that night, and I got us in. He was, looked like he looked then, and this is not long after his father was murdered.
Yeah.
I want to say this is 83, 84. I was still working with Cyndi, and I had already come in the studio and played in front of Phil Ramone, and Phil said, "Man, you're great. You're going to work on these records when you're done on tour with Cyndi. Come and do this."
Be like magic to you to hear that, like, because that's the biggest issue of being an independent musician. It's like, okay, great gig. Tomorrow I'm unemployed.
We always joke after this gig, we're retired.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Even in September, I have no idea I'm retired. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Phil and me introduced me to Julian. He said, I met them up at the Hit Factory, the old Hit Factory, Eddie Germano's place. I said, do you want to go out? Julian's like, let's go out. I think he was over 21 then. Wouldn't matter. They'd let you in.
Yeah.
And somehow that night, and forgive me if I'm wrong, Jules, if you happen to see this, I think it was the very first night we met. We drank and drank. I drank and drank and drank like I could do. Amazing Irish Italian liquor holding for someone 145 pounds. And Julian and I were in the private area. There was a little step up, kind of a joke, up a velvet rope, as I remember it, and a step up. They elevated these round tables. This was the VIP area, which is totally open to the bar and the whole club. So we're up there, and there's like a bouncer behind me, and Julian and I are drinking. I'm drinking a lot. And we started fooling around, like wrestling, like pushing each other around a little bit. And he shoved me, and I said, don't shove me. And I shoved him back hard. And then he grabbed me hard. He's a very strong young man. And to this day, now he could kill me. But I took him and I threw him. I tossed him into a table. And he went across the table, and the drink, it was a bottle of champagne, went everywhere. And guess who was seated at that table?
Desmond Child.
I wish we've been best of friends earlier. No, it was a table full of people in the mob. It was the mafia table.
Oh my God.
Yep. And it might have gone horribly wrong. The bouncer picked up Julian and myself by the napes of our necks, our pants, dragged us out, and he said, and I started saying, "Don't get your friggin' hands off me," to the guy. He's like, "Shut up. I'm saving your life, asshole." He dragged us up. There was a flight of stairs, dragged us up and said, "Go around the corner," on Broadway in 75th or 6th. And we went around the corner and hid and waited. And then the club owner took me aside, Danny, a couple of the other guys, and said, you can't ever act like that here. You could have gotten a celebrity killed. You don't even really know. It was a bad thing.
Wow.
And Julie and I have been best friends ever since.
Wow. So boys and girls, if you drink, this is what can happen to you.
In a club where there might be. And by the way, I'm friends with a lot of the people who are at that table to this day now.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. So it all turned out fine, but wow.
What an auspicious start.
Jesus God. Yeah. I just,
holy shit,
man. Oh man, that actually happened. It was, everything seems fine until somebody gets hurt, So.
Yeah. Wow. What a story. And yeah. he must have been in good natured spirits because he hired you. You played with him. Right?
Yeah. We became, I'd say probably my closest friend right now.
Julian Lennon.
In the world. Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Anytime he comes in the city, he's doing photography now around the world, just taking absolutely amazing photography. He's on Instagram with his stuff. His casual stuff is amazing, but he has exhibitions. He has shows around the world. Leica, he's done a Leica show here in New York City back a few months, and he comes in and does these amazing, just wonderful stuff.
That's cool, man. How about Katy Perry? How did that happen?
That's an interesting one. I mentioned that. I keep that in my bio along with the Jonas Brothers because it's a kind of a fun story. In 2006 or 7, I'm guessing, I started to work for this producer, a new producer to me, named Mike Mangini. And there's a Mike Mangini who's a drummer.
Yeah, okay. I knew I've heard that name.
Michael Mangini, who did Joss Stone's first record, Young Joss, when she broke. And he worked with this brilliant record company gentleman, Steve Greenberg. And Steve Greenberg had worked at Mercury Records and had worked at another record label. And at this point, he became president of Columbia. Columbia
Oh,
Records.
wow.
And so I was working with Mike and doing demos, and I met a lot of cool younger people. Mike's a little bit, I think Mike's about your age. And
well, that's very kind of you to say I'm
man.
young. I was really flattered the other day. My daughter actually told me she's 19, and we just finished the hell period, like that. For her, it was like 11 to 18-ish.
Boy,
so fucking hard.
that's a rough.
Oh, and she's really like in your face, anyway, she's actually kind of like me, but unfiltered, like I was younger, but yeah, but she was like, Dad, you guys are actually pretty cool. I was like, oh, thank you,
wow.
Sam. I know I was. And then I'm doing this thing in Nashville, and she's like, can I come to Nashville with you?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'd love you to. She goes, well, I could pay for the ticket. I said, no, I'm happy to take it, So I was like, it was like heartwarming, yeah, I don't know how I got on this from you telling me I'm young, but
cool. Yeah, no,
triggered all these things, man.
It took my daughter a long time. We never had. She actually was living in a different state when she was going through her teen years. Her mother and I divorced, but she's been back in New York City now since about 18 and doing her own career here. And Sarah and I go out and hear the band. Awesome band. She never wanted any guitar tips. She was adamant about it, but she thinks I'm a pretty cool dad now, as social media is posting old photos of me and things. And
that's cool, man.
I did something, and then I'll see her friends say, cool, that was your pops, back in 1874. that's pretty cool. It doesn't look like that anymore. I'm like, no,
none of us do.
None of us do, yeah. So looking like anything is a major accomplishment.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry. So go ahead. You were saying about with Katie, you started working with Mike Mangini.
Mike Mangini and Steve Greenberg, and Steve was trying to sign some artists, because he was the new head of Columbia, working directly or indirectly for Donnie Ienner, who ran Sony, I think. Big, powerful Donnie Ienner. And so Steve said, I've got this group, the Jonas Brothers, and then I've got this artist that's been out in LA. She's trying to get started. She's, I think, working with Glenn Ballard or someone right now. So they're going to send her out here. We're going to do a song with her. So Katie wasn't signed then. And Katie, yeah, she just wanted to come, and she was in New York for about a week or two. There was a song crafted for her. I don't want to mention the title. And I worked with her. She was a doll. We went out and had breakfasts and hung out, and she was a very nice kid. And then the Jonas Brothers were a nice bunch of guys whose father, I think, was in the church somehow or did something. I don't know if he's a minister. I'm making this up, but said, oh, I used to play songs that you did with like Cyndi Lauper, and I used to play your song in church, and we do this. And what key did you do this in? So I got along with
cool.
Yeah, and the kids were very little then. They were like, I don't even remember their names, but they were the little boy was like little young Michael Jackson age, or
Yeah.
And they sang great. So all these demos, almost an entire record's worth with Jonas Bros, all got shelved, all got crushed, because Steven Greenberg ended up being attacked by the guy above him who said, screw these people, you're not going to get to release this, this, and this. And all those records got crushed.
I hear stuff like this all the time. It's just amazing. Like they run it like it's a personal.
It absolutely was. I won't go into detail, but it was a vendetta against this gentleman. It was brilliant. Fun to work with, a great writer. Wasn't just a record company dude or hierarchy. He was creative and could get artists to sing, to perform beautifully. I mean, he was just inspirational to play around, to work around. And he said they're just throwing him away. They got personal.
Wow.
And of course, we know that both artists have sort of
are huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Katy Perry does 2 demos, and then Jonas Brothers 3 demos. Really good songs that no one ever heard. But,
that's too bad, man.
Yeah, really.
Good story.
Business. The end of that. Yeah.
You know what? Do you know Steve Hunter?
Yes, Steve Hunter was on some records with that I worked on with Julian Lennon.
Julian, that's what I was thinking, because he's just a great guy.
Yeah, absolute, also a great guy. And played on records that I adored, with Lou Reed.
Yeah. It was funny. I just happened to I was listening to I was just in the gym this morning, and Lou Reed live album came up on my playlist for the song Heroin, and so I hear it's so cool that I hear the opening, and I knew it's Steve, so I just took a picture. I said, "Hey, man, this just came up." Thinking of you. It was so cool that to connect certain things like that. He's done a lot of good stuff.
He's a great player, great guy.
what you recently played with Chuck Leavell. How was that? How'd you get hooked up with Chuck, and how'd that go?
An old friend of mine, a writer, arranger, who was in New York City for years, Red Ninekirchen is his name. Some sort of bug. By the way, am I dressed as a priest? I only have the small little thumbnail. I'm colorblind, but it looks like I have a white shirt under a black.
No, it's gray, man.
Oh, it's great. Good. Thank you. Thank you.
No, it's not the priest thing. Yeah, you're close.
Tiny picture without my reading glasses. And
no, you're close.
Or something. Yeah. Okay.
If I ask you for forgiveness at the end of the interview,
you're all forgiven. Top of the morning to you. So Red Ninekirchen is living in Columbus, Ohio, where he originates, and he has been a good friend with Chuck Leavell for I think 10 or more years. Chuck's been with the Rolling Stones for 38 plus years. Guy from Macon, Georgia, and I had an awareness of Chuck and, of course, the Stones. Red said, Chuck is doing this big band, large band thing, and while the Stones are in New York City, we're going to try to do a show at the Gramercy Theater. And would you like to do it? And I said, well, the thing, I don't read, or their big band charts. I'd have to memorize all this. And he said, no worries. The rhythm section's like R&B, rock and roll, and it was exactly that, with 11 of the greatest. The whole band was fantastic. Sean Pelton on drums, Conrad Korsch on upright.
He's played on everything. Sean Pelton, very popular.
Chuck, myself on guitar. Don Harris was contracted for the horns. We had the most amazing horn section. It was fantastic. And Red Ninekirchen was the band leader, the conductor.
That's cool, man.
Which I'm like a chimp reading Shakespeare. I don't really have I have the music in front of me, but I don't know where it is, where I am in the music. And
that's funny.
He's doing this, and he'd point, and I would solo, and I'd say, I could follow your hand, but that's about it. And Chuck was a doll. He was.
That's cool.
I hope I get to do that somehow, somewhere again. It was just so fun.
Man, that's awesome. Very cool. He played with the Allman Brothers for years. That's why I'm familiar with him from.
That's great stuff.
You got to be a great player if Greg Allman, who's one of the greatest keyboard players ever, wants you to play keyboards.
Yeah.
In his band, you gotta, and everybody else does in that band. You got to know what you're doing,
Absolutely. Oh, another fun little thing, it was just a personal thing that I enjoyed, was we were doing Honky Tonk Woman and Tumbling Dice.
Oh my God.
And on Honky Tonk Woman, Charlie Watts got up, along with Daryl Jones, the bass player.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the young singer's name, great singer, female singer, and sax player got up from the Stones. And
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. There's a documentary I'm watching.
Yeah. I have their names.
Sideman with Slick. Slick is the main guy. Yeah.
Just fantastic. And Charlie Watts is just an absolute doll gentleman. We played, as soon as he started playing the beat, the guy was playing cowbell from the band does a cowbell off stage.
Yeah.
He did it, and I turned around and listened to him play that beat. And it's the beat you've heard on the record since whenever you first heard the record.
Tumbling Dice.
I had when he's hitting the snare. And he just gave me a little grin, and I turned around and I said, there you go. Now I've died.
Yeah, man, that's pretty amazing. He's got to be in his 80s too, no? I think he's the oldest Stone.
He's the oldest, late 70s. He whispered an age to me, but I won't.
No, that's cool.
A little bit older than me, yeah, and he was just an absolute doll.
I've always thought the world of his playing, man. He's just so reliable. He's like a Swiss watch, man. That guy is so reliable.
He had this swing, this tight groove, that swing, very different from anything we did, that night. Because Sean Pelton's one of my favorite drummers in the world, and a monster. He's all about feel and listening, power and dynamics. And then Charlie just has this. It was this swagger. It was well, you've heard it, but playing with it, trying to play, the guitar to that and not sound like an awful cover guy,
No, man, but you know what you're doing. This isn't your first rodeo, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to do that.
But yeah.
No. Do you have any other side hustles going, John, besides, you got licensing, anything else you do besides making money in music, or not in music, besides picking up your guitar and playing?
No, but I've been always looking for that. I was thinking maybe, working at a horse track or something, or maybe dealing in some sort of medicinal drug. No, I don't. I don't have any side thing going on at this point. It's always all music based. I toyed with maybe lessons and things like that, but generally whenever it was like magic, if I even promised a friend that we could do a one-on-one lesson, I would get busy. So I know if I need to do a little work, I would volunteer to give you or some, a friend of
Yeah.
yours. And like clockwork.
Always
Next
get busy.
Tuesday, yeah, I'm sorry, I have this thing. And so,
It's all right. You know what I did for a little while? As I'm always looking for side hustles. I was before the real estate market got hot again. I was buying mobile homes,
wow.
flipping them. Now you got to realize.
Now, when you say flipping, you don't mean tornado like. You mean
no? I mean like buy them, sell them.
They tend to get
like
flipped.
Owner financing to somebody else because it's an easy sell.
I have a bug in here. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, man. Chase them down.
Yeah.
And it was really funny. I never saw a mobile home.
No.
I'm from the Bronx, and even though I've been living here for a long time, since I never saw a mobile home.
Not in your backyard. Yeah.
No, man. And I'll tell you a funny story. The first home that I wound up buying, I went out to look at, and I had a Mercedes. It was a used Mercedes. I would buy, it was my first really nice car, but it was 3 or 4 or 5 years old. I bought. I wouldn't buy a new car, a new Mercedes anyway. And I pull up to this mobile home, and I said, man, I've been in sales so many years. This is like how to set yourself up for failure.
Showing up with the Merc.
Right. Everything worked out, but I came home that night. I said, babe, I've got to get a little Chuck.
Yeah.
Because these people are going to think I'm an asshole just because I'm in the car. And
after that, they're going to be less trusting of you.
But they're just going to think they want to want more money than I'm willing to pay.
I'm telling you from New York too.
Yeah. Right. That'd be the other.
From the Bronx.
Yeah. I'm here to buy your.
You want to sell this piece of shit? Does this roll? You want to tow this somewhere, or do you want to sell it?
I just wanted to have a level playing field, like where they're I can negotiate fairly. Like, this guy. That's really funny. So I want it next time, and I just bought a real beat up a little Ford Ranger. A little Ford Ranger. Yeah. Which is perfect. And then I'd pull up and everything was swell. God, that was funny. All right. So originally from. Let's talk about the licensing, actually. How did you get involved with that originally? Because you've done really well with it. And also, you obviously are a really good writer. How did you're a guy that can't read music, and you're a really good composer.
Good with, discovering it as, like I said, as time went by, first inserting a few chords with someone like, with John Waite and others saying, you got a chord that would fit here, or how about a little section leading to a chorus? And I was pretty good at coming up with the chord changes, or a figure on guitar. And then that evolved into more melodic stuff, helping with melody writing with people. And the one thing I'm lousy at that I couldn't do by myself, it wouldn't be a very good song. And people have verified this. It's not just my being hard on myself. I'm not a good lyricist.
But that's a different skill set, actually.
All different, and I'm funny. I have a acerbic wit. If I can do this, I can say something. I'm good at being caustic and sarcastic, but that doesn't, if you're writing a love song or a song or if I'm trying to write something deep inside, I get about this close, and then I say, hell with it,
You're putting there once was a pig from Nantucket in the lyric, and it's just not happening.
I used to be an asshole, but now I'm more open.
Yeah.
No one even cares. So that I can't do. But I'm good also at guitar melodies. If it's an instrumental thing for television, some of it has to do with writing with this. From 1992 to 2002, I had a music company in New York City with one of my closest friends, Neil Jason. I mentioned him earlier, the bass player. Played with the Brecker Brothers, played on over 200 albums. The reason I met Phil Ramone, how I met Neil would be the guy who would look after me. Hey, schmuck, you can't do this. You shouldn't do that. Don't listen to this. Get a contract. That guy.
Oh, that's great. So he really was a good mentor business-wise for you.
Yeah, just a few years older than me, but he'd been doing this since he was 18 years old, from Brooklyn, from Canarsie. He's out right now with Brian Ferry. I'm proud of him. He's going back out on tour with Brian Ferry with Roxy Music. He was just in New York.
He's bass player?
Bass player.
So he took Guy Pratt's slot. Guy Pratt was out with Brian last time.
Okay, yeah. And he on and off for the last couple of years, Neil called him. Yeah, and they did do some stuff in Europe a few months ago that I don't need you for that. Stay home, and then Neil's back out with him. And
that's great, man.
Neil went back out recently with Randy Brecker, the surviving Brecker brothers. And they went to Japan, big in Japan, and played. And Neil is on those records. So anyway, Neil is an amazing player, and he loved my playing before he knew me for whatever reason. And I'm very, very lucky. So he wanted to do a music company, and we did a company called New York Jam. And jam music was for commercials, advertising music.
Oh, wow.
Heart and soul stuff, but it wasn't, we weren't exactly writing the Bisco. We would just it was, what we did.
Bread and butter.
Presented us like our real heart and soul stuff, funk, because stuff that was popular then we were very good at. Even a little bit of hip hop, breakbeat stuff. We were using samplers, or we could bring in great players to give us whatever.
Did Eddie play on any of your things?
No, but he should have. I think he was already living out in the West Coast then.
Okay.
He had gone to Oregon or wherever.
Yeah.
Because I love Eddie too. That's a whole other
Great
show.
Guy, man. Great guy.
Yeah. We're back in touch. I saw him a few years ago. He came and we went and got pizza at John's Pizza on Bleecker Street.
Down on Carmine Street.
Yeah.
That's the only good pizza place left, man, to be honest. I used to get a pizza box. It's gone.
Yeah.
On Bleecker Street, yeah.
The pizza's just 99-cent garlic laced pizza made by I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
Forget about Italian. I don't even know where we are now. But yeah, but so Neil and I had this company, and that sharpened my writing skills greatly, even with melody. And of course, there's no lyric in those things. They would give you the tagline for Miller Genuine.
So it was right up your alley.
Yeah, really good. And then Neil, super strong writer, groove writer, give me chord changes I would never think of, in funk and rock. We did a bunch of work for radio for Miller Genuine Draft with this guy who I'm still very close with, Steve McCabe. And Steve McCabe was the music producer for an agency that had Miller Genuine Draft. And we worked with the Allman Brothers. We worked with Joe Walsh, and we worked with Eric Burden. And we worked with
because those guys were playing on some of the songs you wrote. Right,
huge. And they would say, write a song in the style of the Allman Brothers, and without getting the powers to be sued, and not insulting to Joe Walsh, whomever, when I'm clearly trying to do Rocky Mountain.
Yeah.
Right? And it's ga-da, 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 turn it around. And sing Miller Genuine Draft at some point. And so it was so much fun to do because it was not regular advertising.
That's cool, man.
This was radio. So you're off camera. There's no, you don't have to worry about the film editor or anything, just keeping the client happy. And that was a huge learning curve for me, working with artists I never would have normally had access to in my playing career.
How did you get clients? So did Neil just have all these contacts, or?
Neil had a lot of contacts. I had some. We had friends like Steve McCabe at an agency who had another friend, Peter Greco, at Y&R, and all these guys, Hunter Murtaugh. Neil had played on 1,000 jingles at the time.
Okay. Okay. So he had some baseline of source of referrals.
Yeah. First call was there was Neil Jason, Will Lee, Marcus Miller.
Right.
Or was Hiram Bullock, Jeff, Ira Siegel, all the guys before me. I came in very late and then didn't read, so I was at a disadvantage. But
yeah,
Neil was he was the first call guy. The stuff that Will would be too busy to do, Neil would do vice versa. So when
that's really cool.
Went off on our own, we had the advantage of having been, and Neil was working at another big company called JSM, and I had been at HEA, so it was all stuff.
Wait a minute, JSM, that wasn't Joe Sugarman.
No, it was John Silberman.
Okay.
Yeah, at the time.
Okay. Interesting. And so but now you're doing movies and TV. How did that segue?
The segue through another person I started, who's a friend now, this guy, Ali D. And Ali had a company.
Ali G?
Ali D.
Oh, there's Ali G. Do you know who that is?
I know.
I'm like, man, I really like him on my show.
I can get him too. Ali D. It's Ali Theodore, and he's a New York guy, and he was a hip hop guy, white guy, who had a career in hip hop in 1990. He's still in his 40s, but he was hooked into movies, doing hip hop stuff and modern hip hop stuff in 2002, 3, 4, 5. And he brought me in and got me involved in, he was doing the first Chipmunks movie when
Right.
Chipmunks came back, and Ross Bagdasarian was working with Fox, 20th Century Fox, to do a new Chipmunks, and it was the newer CGI. And he and Ali had a stable of writers, great writers and hip hop people that could do this, and he got me involved in it. So that was very cool. So from then, I'm still doing a lot of TV work quietly with Ali, and then I have direct contacts now, and to PBS and to other things. So that just evolved.
That's really great.
Just awesome. I'm very, very lucky, very blessed.
That's great. And I'm happy this series that you're doing. I know you can't talk about the name, but
Just
man, it's a really good series, and it's going to be evergreen. It'll be really popular.
Yeah, I'm excited to be around for it.
Any other, John, any other low points or dark periods that you had to deal with, and how'd you get through them?
No, not really. The sort of I generalized, but the drinking thing, which was up and down.
Yeah.
Sometimes I managed it. Like I said, I never ended up, like I said, face down, but you don't have to.
Yeah. No, it impacts you for sure.
So recently, just a couple of years ago, I figured that one out. You know?
Good, man. Good for you. That's the biggest accomplishment. Probably one of your biggest accomplishments. I'm really happy for you. It's not easy getting sober, man.
Yeah, and it wasn't hard physically, and it wasn't even hard mentally until after 3 months or 4 months, when I felt, there were times stressors.
Of course.
Started to work again more, and that got me out there. And I thought, wow, man, I'd like the Chuck Leavell gig recently. That's the first time I played a gig of any notoriety, of any size, sober in my life. Now, there were times I only had a shot before I played, but there were times I'd drink a half a bottle.
How did that feel?
It
was probably scary to some extent.
Scary as hell at first.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm just going to close my eyes because I don't think when I play, for better or worse.
Yeah.
I am literally that guy. I don't work anything out ahead of time. I mean, if it's a structured thing that I need to play or the head needs to be, I learn it, of course.
Yeah.
This was time I practiced. I learned his stuff so I could do it without looking at paper at all to guide myself. And there were some solos that I just closed my eyes and played, knowing that everything's captured on Instagram and Facebook now. And I really liked it. It felt, I remember feeling exhilarated inside playing, thinking, I wish I had done this years ago, but I'm not going to look back and then beat myself up about that.
No, you can't. How many mistakes you live to be 60, 50, whatever, man, you got a list of them.
Yeah.
That, I wish
I could have, should have.
Yeah, right. It's just, you can't move forward if you have your head in the rear view mirror at all. It's
right.
just not possible, man. It's not possible.
Yeah.
That's good, man. I'm really happy for you. You got to experience that. That's wonderful, man.
It feels really good.
Yeah, good for you. And then, of course, every time you do it, it gets less and less intimidating.
Right. And it's just, I'm enjoying it. With Sarah and I did a gig, Sweet Lorraine did a gig at Mercury Lounge a week ago. And once again, we're playing with these young guys that are just great players from a local band here as well. A guy from England, a guy from Uruguay, and a guy from New Jersey. And they're wonderful young people. And I just have a ball playing with them, and they can all drink and have a great time. And they always turn on me. I said, guys, drink up. I'll pour, It's not that kind of thing with me. I enjoy seeing, but I don't want people to tighten up because they're seeing a veteran guy like me and they're trying to be, polite around. Party on, dude.
You know what? I never drink if I'm with a guy who's sober. And in fact, I went out, I smoked a cigar with a guy, and he goes, do you want a drink? And I said, I don't want one, but to be honest with you, I wouldn't. He goes, it doesn't bother me. I said, I get it. I just wouldn't do it. I just would feel like.
You feel awkward about it. Yeah. And respectful too.
Respectful. Like, I'm like, if I want to contribute to someone's sobriety.
Right.
Not
test it,
like, I don't
always say you're fine to go ahead and have it, but I understand.
I just wouldn't do it. I've been out. Yeah, someone's worked so hard for something. Hey, man, congratulations. I'm happy that person I'm with, or like this story, I'm really happy because I know how difficult that is, and a lot of work goes into that, man. I want to celebrate that with that person.
Sure, that's good of you.
Thanks. I just think I'm doing like the right thing, really. Best concerts you've seen, top 2 or 3?
Top 2. One has to be Zeppelin in 1975.
Dude, that's so cool. Where'd you see them?
In New Haven at the no longer existing New Haven Coliseum.
Yeah, man. I saw a lacrosse match there, I think.
Did you really?
I think so. No, it was Long Island Coliseum. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. It's a similar event, and that place has been razed now. They bombed that. They demolitioned that place.
That's too bad. So you saw Zeppelin at the New Haven Coliseum. What else?
I really loved. You know, it's funny. I don't go to a lot of big concerts, and when I do, it's like through a friend. Like I know the drummer in U2 pretty well, Larry Mullen, and Julian. When Julian Lennon was in town a couple of years ago, he took Sarah and myself to see them because he's very tight with Bono and Edge and all those guys. And I was really blown away by U2 at the Garden recently.
That's cool.
Because I don't, like I said, I don't really go or get to see very big bands. And the production was awesome. The visuals, the sound, the runway thing that they constructed. We had great seats, of course.
Well, that's so cool, man. And now that I've taken Ann to all these shows now because I know all you guys, and I'm like, she goes, "Oh, we got to go to the arena." I said, "Don't worry.
Don't worry.
You're gonna. It's not what you're used to."
It's not the nosebleed seats. You know,
yeah.
They had a column, and you're watching on the screen. It's this big. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're backstage. She goes, "I can't believe this." I'm like, "Okay, you know what?
Best, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so everybody's so kind. It's so when do you know Dave Amato from REO Speedwagon?
Yes, I have. I've met him. Yep.
Super nice guy. So he was here. We went, and he said, "Hey guys, come backstage." And I wanted to see his guitars, of course. And Ann's like, "I can't believe I'm backstage," and she's never. She was just, and then it was, and I was like that the first time, to be honest with you, myself.
It's a trip. It's a wonderful thing to do. I would be the same way I was when we started playing years ago with Cyndi. When we started playing large venues like that, I was the guy doing that, and I'm in the band. It was
like when you play in the Garden, that's got to be surreal.
Yeah, total trip. It doesn't. What was weird about the bigger the venue, I was part of there was a show called Amnesty.
Yeah, I remember that.
Giants, what's now the defunct Giants Jet Stadium here in New Jersey. And I played with Little Steven.
Yeah.
Old end, because Paul Schaefer was playing keyboards, and Paul said he needs a guitar player. I think the bass player was T.M. Stevens. It was a great band. And we did that, and then I played with Sledgehammer. I played
Peter Gabriel?
Peter Gabriel, yeah. And then the Police, that was the Police's last show. The Police did their final.
Wow.
They were the headliner, as it were. They played at like midnight that night. So we went from daylight all the way through to 1 a.m. And there was a huge backstage thing. But my point is there was 80,000+ people. They had the field covered. And once you play the Garden or any big place, you don't really see past, I found, you don't see past the first 5 rows where
right.
people are standing. So it really isn't that different. It's just overwhelming. The crowd response is delayed. There's this slow sort of, you don't feel like you're there, or that was my feeling. At least sideman working with these artists who are singing and fronting, and I'm just playing, and you're hearing your monitor, and you look out and you see the sea of people, or at night you see the lighters at that point.
Yeah.
Or cell phones.
Or cell phones now. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it doesn't. It's almost like playing the other night with Chuck at the Gramercy Theater, which seats about 600 people on the floor. It felt about the same.
That's interesting.
A sense, I'd just be reminded. I would think every once in a while, this is 80,000+, and it's so. But I never really connected the reality of that with,
Which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is be thinking when you're on stage.
Right. I would have had extra drinks.
Yeah. Do you know Jimmy Leahy by any chance? In Jersey? He's a New Jersey cat.
No,
you look like him, actually. I'm just sitting here talking. Yeah, you look like he's got a little longer hair, but the guys look similar.
I do too. It's just on my back now.
I feel you, man. Guitars, man. What's your go-to right now, and has that changed over the years?
It's funny. I have a guitar that looks like a gorgeous 50s Strat that doesn't have one Stratocaster part on it, except for the tuners are from an old Strat that I once owned. I had backup Klusons, and I'm looking at it now. It's got,
yeah, man. Let me see it.
Yeah, let me grab it here. This is the.
So that's your number one.
It's my number one, and what it is it's a Schecter neck. It's a Schecter neck.
But the headstock says Fender.
Yeah, I put that decal on.
Oh, you put the decal on. Okay, cool. So Schecter neck.
I'm not going to rip myself off, but This neck was given to me by Schecter in 1980 or 81 when I was first out in LA. And it has an extra fret on it, which I thought was cool, like a Les Paul, 22nd fret. And he said, take the neck and make a guitar. And I came back to New York City, and I had the guy that I used to go to all the time, John Sir, who's now a big guitar maker.
Sure.
And he was working at Rudy's Music
Shop. Yeah.
And he put this neck on a cool body for me, and we did the Floyd Rose. Unfortunately, we had butchered the neck and put the Floyd Rose plugs, which is off of the guitar now.
So that's effectively a Sir guitar.
Yeah, the neck, but the neck was a Schecter, and then this was made by Sir. All the guts. Now, since then, I bought a new body through the person I go to now, it's Matt at Brewster at 30th Street Guitars, and Matt put this beautiful body together with this tinted pickguard, Seymour Duncan Demon humbucker, and this is the guitar I always pull out. So it feels. I mean, the neck's from 1980, so it's vintage to young people. And there's not one Fender thing on except 3 knobs and the tuners.
That's amazing, man. Really pretty guitar. It's a Sunburst for people listening. If you're not watching this, it's a Sunburst. Looks like a Sunburst Strat with a very well-worn neck.
Yeah, and the neck is never been finished, so it genuinely is that look. And I figure as long as I never try to sell it and rip anyone off, I can put a Fender sticker on it. Amazon's good for those sort of things.
And so that's been your go-to for quite some time.
Yeah, and now I have a Les Paul that I love, a Black Standard. I've been trying to rebuild my guitar collection. I sort of sold a lot of stuff at a point where I thought I would never tour again, or I didn't want to tour, or it wouldn't come up. So I got rid of Marshalls that I had been keeping in storage. Now I wish I had a few of those back. But
you're not going to use them now. I mean, nobody's using. I mean, unless you're doing stadium gigs.
You're right. It would be replicating John Waite when we toured co-headline with Cheap Trick back in '87.
Right.
50-watt Marshalls with the 2 4/12 slants, and I would split them with a harmonizer, and that was a great sound. But those were bigger venues. And now I just worked the other day with 2 Fender Deluxes with Chuck Leavell, and I was in heaven.
Yeah.
It was too good for the room. It was just awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Fender Deluxes.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you got your Sir/Strat, your Les Paul. What else?
Les Paul. I have a Fender Telly somewhere buried in the closet. Not a reissue 52, and then a couple of acoustics. I have a nice Taylor acoustic, and I think we have a Seagull that Sarah and I share. Seagull's a funny little guitar made in Canada.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
By the way,
other players.
Really nice guitar to play. Very, very affordable guitar. I think I have nylon on that now because the show I'm doing, I do a lot of acoustic, and there has to be nylon as well as acoustic, and then 12-string. So
very cool, man.
Playing a lot of acoustic, and I don't love acoustic, and I don't think I'm very good at it. But these TV shows, the children's shows, are a lot of acoustic. It's so funny that
that makes sense.
I've got to play by these particular strings that the sound person, the engineer likes on the show, and the people in the BBC say, "Can you do a little less sliding? I'm getting a bit of squeak on your low E string." And
you do the accent really well.
Spent a lot of time there. So
yeah.
On the tables.
Yeah.
Close friends nearly killed. Yeah.
I told you my wife is from the UK, and I love her accent, but her family, she's been here really long. We've been together like 27 years, and she's probably been here, I don't know, probably 6 years, 4 years before that. And for everybody going through your head, yeah, she had a green card before we met. And I'm not that much of a prize that you'd sacrifice yourself to get a green card to put yourself through this. Let me tell you,
I hope no one's ever said that to you. That would make no sense. And if she was just there for the green card, she would be gone now.
That's a low ROI to do that. But her family thinks that she doesn't have an accent now because she's been here. I hear it, but my kids do not hear it.
Right.
Kids don't hear an accent of they don't hear her accent at all. It's really, really weird. I guess they grew up with her. Yeah, very strange. Favorite players you've enjoyed playing with?
Oh my gosh, I've had so many. You mean even like on a friendly basis, not just big?
Yeah, no, just guys you've really enjoyed playing with, or gals,
Jeff Carlisi, one of my favorite guitar players in the world. Eddie Martinez.
Eddie's awesome.
Together, Eddie is a fierce player, and rhythmic solos, tone, everything. Jeff Carlisi was a very open and never competitive, seemingly competitive. Of course, he was competitive. He wanted a gig with Rod Stewart, but he was always a doll to me. Never felt to anyone. And his wife told me after, and Jeff had said this, he said, his widow, Audrey Golub, said, there were only two players that Jeff loved, but the only two players that ever would make Jeff nervous on a competitive level was you and Eddie Martinez.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think I shared that with Eddie.
Two New York guys. That's cool.
Yeah, the two guys that Jeff used to say, wow, oh man, if those guys are up for that gig, I'm in trouble.
It's a nice compliment.
I love them. And I've gotten to work because of sessions with people like Phil Ramone that I met, with Neil Jason. I played with some amazing guitar players on sessions. Hugh McCracken, who passed away several years ago. Hugh was on Hugh, you can just look him up. His resume is unbelievable.
Did he play with Simon and Garfunkel?
Probably Steely Dan. He's on records with playing rhythm. The most gentle, intelligent, funny, great player. Played on Thrill Is Gone with B.B. King.
Oh, wow.
Hugh's career is epic. Wow. Quietly epic. And I worked with him and got to play with him before of course, and I was young then and cuckoo. I'd say, oh, who are you? And he'd say, I'm Hugh McCracken. I say, hey, man, nice to meet you. And I would go on about my business. I was not cocky. I was the opposite of cocky, but I was trying to be sort of drunk and casual, which I always was.
Right,
so I was
right.
at ease around these guys.
That's good, though.
Yeah, Elliot Randall.
Yeah. Steely Dan.
Oh, my gosh. Records. Oh, my God. So many great players.
He's in the UK, isn't he?
Yes, he's back. I think he's been in London for a long time. We occasionally directly chat on Facebook, so I know he's still doing well. It's nice when it's not just someone liking a photo. You want to be sure, but it's actually Elliot saying, "Love this. Glad you're doing that."
Oh, cool, man.
I like Facebook for those reasons.
Yeah, I like Facebook. I never put anybody on my Facebook. And if everybody's listening, this is why. If you've tried to friend me, I don't friend anybody unless I know them because I just feel weird about it, and I won't enjoy posting on Facebook
because you can get responses from strangers you don't.
Yeah, it just seems weird to me, and I don't post a lot of non-show related stuff there, honestly. But if I want to post a photo of my wife or kids or whatever, I just feel weird. So anybody listening, if I haven't friended you, I'm sorry. It's not you. It's me.
I think the kids prefer Instagram right now. At least my daughter and a lot of the younger generation they have way more Instagram.
Wait a minute. Define younger generation, under 50.
Anyone under 55. What are you talking about? The window's getting smaller.
That's funny. Desert Island Discs, man. Top 3. Just for right now. I mean, I know this could change tomorrow or in an hour even.
Any Beatles. I was a huge Beatles fan. I wish I'd like to say, especially with meeting Charlie Watts, and I've met Mick Jagger and Keith over the years, I kind of wish, I think it was cooler to be a Rolling Stones kid of my generation. That meant you were a little tougher, a little more.
I like the Stones better than the Beatles.
Sure. And a lot of guys, especially my crowd of car mechanics and tough guys.
Yeah.
I loved the Beatles.
There's born Beatles fans and Stones fans. Yeah.
It's so ironic that I've gotten so tight with Julian. An eye opener for me was Cream.
Oh God, yeah.
Guitar point of view, and Led Zeppelin. When I heard Led Zeppelin 1, that changed my life because I was such a Beatles dude. This is real time, of course, in the 60s. So I was pretty young when the Beatles came. I think I was 8 or 9. I'm born in 57. So Beatles.
Zeppelin 1 was a great record for a first album. That's kind of nutty.
Yeah, and Zeppelin 2, and then 80s. I love the Cars. I really I love the new wave stuff. I thought new wave and the Clash. I liked rugged, tougher stuff.
Do you know the Ruts? You heard of them? The Ruts.
Not the Ruddles, the Ruts.
No, the Ruts. They're a UK band. They had their first album was very ska influence, and it broke the whole.
I feel like someone played them for me.
Yeah.
When were they?
I'm thinking in the early 80s.
I think someone played me the records.
Yeah, I have their their bass player, who's the primary writer, Segs Jennings. I think he's coming on my show this week, actually. So awesome. I'm interested in talking to him. Yeah, I want to find out what that was like.
Yeah.
To be that guy. May I ask you this? A tough question. You don't have to answer it. To become excellent at something, there's always a price to pay for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was curious, what have been the biggest sacrifices you've had to make to become successful in your career?
That's an interesting question, because I sort of never made it a point to become successful in my career. It harkens back to that thing where
interesting, undeserving.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah, in spite of yourself.
Yeah, why did Joe Pizzullo buy me a Gibson Les Paul Deluxe? Just thinking I could play.
Destiny, man.
Yeah, just weird. So it's so ooh and ah, and then rather than embracing that, and I just kept on going, kept on partying. So I didn't. What I sacrificed probably was many relationships.
Right.
My health at times. A lot of things where I privately, just railed against it and did everything I could to. Yeah, that's a great question, and I can tell you that most people that have achieved the success I have, more or less, whatever, would have a proper answer to that. That would be, well, I had to work hard. I had to do a lot of practicing. And then I wanted to do this, but I couldn't do it because I had to dedicate myself. I wish I had that answer, but I don't.
No, I'd be honest. I think most people are going to answer the same way. This is a new question. I'm breaking my cherry with you. This is a brand new question, actually. And I think most people are going to answer it like you did. I don't think most people are going to sit, because I don't think people look at the hours of practice alone in the room as the sacrifice. I think most people look at that as the entry fee.
Sure, as what you do to, and like in any field, you want to be.
Yeah, and then is the sacrifice.
Right.
And also, you don't look when you're young, which is when most of the woodshedding time is coming in. What else you got going on?
Yeah, it's not like
it's not like, fuck, man, I missed all this time with my kids because I was playing guitar in my room, and I didn't go out and get drunk with my buddy. There's nothing going on when it comes down to it. Or I miss Little League, and I think the sacrifices come later in life when you do. It's like this. I was at a seminar one time, and this guy said, when you are broke, you take more risks because you have nothing to lose.
Right.
When you have money, then you're saying, I need to be a little careful here because I'm exposed.
Right, exactly.
And I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of, I'm glad you liked the question. Thanks. So it's a keeper. Best decision you ever made?
Moving to New York City. And I was coerced by my girlfriend at the time. I admit it. I credited her for getting her.
You're not to get. Were you? Did that end after you moved to New York?
A couple of years in. After Cyndi Lauper, when I was on the road, things.
You're a good guy with relationships, man. I know you know everybody. You're still in touch with them. You're good. You do well with that.
Very, very lucky. Yeah, and the artists that I worked for and with, I generally would always sort of. Sounds like an ass liquor proposition, but actually I would always.
No, I don't get that at all.
It would always get tight with John Waite, with Cyndi in our own way, even though it was a stressful situation for her and for the band members. I went away from that, and I still, I emailed her a year or two ago to ask her a question about, my daughter had a question. And so,
oh, that's cool. That's nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. Every person, the only ones I don't see are people where we just are in opposite parts of the globe now. So
yeah, that's cool. Most important things you've learned about yourself. I'm going to ask you some tough questions.
Wow. It's funny. I'm just getting to the point in my life at 62 where I can even start to think about that.
That's great.
As a real, most important thing I've learned. I'm starting to feel like I deserve some of the things that have happened.
Good for you, man. That's a big one.
And that I don't suck as hard as badly as I thought.
That's good, man.
In general.
That's a really good thing. It takes a while to get over there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to live to be 120 to figure it completely out. But
No, man, it depends how hard you work.
that's true. That is true.
All right, so now I'm going to ask you a similar question because since I know that was a challenging question for you. What do you like most about yourself?
I think I've found that I'm a pretty strong person. I think I do have strength and resolve, and I try, and I'll do anything for people I care about.
That's cool.
Finding that out. These are like brand new answers because I'm just learning this. It's like,
dude, I'm really glad I'm asking you.
Yeah, it's like
passed. You're passing all of them, John.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I'll give you a certificate at the end of the show.
Thank you. I'm 5 years old now.
Got to be 5 years old sometime, right? It's all happening now than when you're 70.
Right, exactly.
Who's had the biggest influence on you musically, and then also, I don't mean like listening to somebody, but someone who's guided you musically and also personally?
Wow. I don't think it's one person. I've had teachers along the way, and now teachers now, like, for example, meeting Phil Ramone, the record producer, was huge because look at it. Look at his, who he is, who he was, what he did. That was a learning curve. Like the person who connected me with him, Neil Jace, huge influence in me, directing, helping me get a career going, seeing the light, Jeff Gull. So, I'd say those three people. And to this day, my friend Julian Lennon, still, whether he knows it or not, directs me from afar and nearby. So
that's nice, man. How about personally?
Personally, it was Jeff Golub and Neil Jason, Julian Lennon. It's the same, because the career. Yeah, I so funny. And now that when I think of it, there's people I've worked for who obviously didn't become super tight with. Many artists, that I did records for, a track for Bette Midler and something for Carly Simon and something for, but 90% of the things that became my career, my music, are personal relationships that, I think that's maybe pretty common, but
no, it's not at all.
It isn't, right? Yeah, I thought. No,
it's definitely not. And I'm like, I mean, in my small population, which is like closing in on 600 people. So I think it's a reasonable sample. I'm not like statistically, it's not maybe valid, but I think that's not the norm at all. Yeah. And not that everybody has they're acrimonious, but it's just, move. It's like, you had a temp job and now you're on another,
Right. That's usually what it is. You're right. Yeah. For me, the big thing, the big moments were always part of friendship, ongoing friendship.
Yeah. That's really cool that you got to experience that. So you got to give yourself credit for that because you cultivated that. Because these guys, I've interviewed people who've worked for these same guys and gals. And Cyndi, I interviewed a couple of Cindy's guitar players.
Right. Right. Because they've all worked with so many people since. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any non-musical superpowers, John?
None. Absolutely none. I'm the world's worst athlete. Can't golf. I tried golfing as a release, something to do when I had my music company with Neil.
Yeah.
Clients would want to go to the place, the Chelsea Piers here. They have a Japanese-style driving range. Fantastic. The ball comes up for you. You're on AstroTurf. You're hitting balls out towards the Hudson. I couldn't hit that ball, Craig, if you paid me $1 million. But I could knock my own hat off. So yeah, no, I have no superpowers. Car driving. I'm a really good driver, actually.
Favorite New York City food? Sushi. Interesting. You're the first guy I didn't say pizza.
Yeah, no, sushi. I mean, I love all of those foods. I like Indian food. But Sarah and I just last night sushi. That's what I look forward to the most.
Is there a particular place?
There's a place right in my neighborhood here called Takahashi. That's on Avenue A in 6th Street. I'm going to go there, man, because I need a good place to go there. Anytime you're in the city, let me know. We'll hook up. I'll take you there. That'd be great, man. Yeah, It's not high end. It's not Blue Ribbon. It's not a tourist destination. It's a local place with reliably great. That's perfect. I don't do really high end stuff. We know everyone there. We know Jack. Jack.
Kind of laid back. That's awesome, man. Takahashi.
They're open till 1 a.m. and they're just they don't open till 5 p.m.
That's awesome, man. Thank you. That's really cool. I always just hang out. I go to all the Mexican bars down in the West Village there.
I love that too. Yeah, we don't ever get. Sarah and I live so far east. We're almost in the East River here.
Yeah.
For us to get across town to go to anything in the West Village to 6th Avenue feels like a major trip, to head toward. I can't even see New Jersey till you get to, so far east. We're almost in Williamsburg,
Well, it's a good area where you live, though. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of gotten hipster.
Any hobbies outside of music?
Cars, auto racing, and I like sports. I love watching sports. The world's worst athlete, but I love tennis, and I love football and baseball and basketball. God, I am a jock.
Yeah, man, you are. You know what I did a couple of years? I'm going to do it again this year. My younger son, we just don't have a lot of things in common. We're very close, but he said, "Hey, Dad, would you want to play in my fantasy league?" And I said, "Yeah," because I knew we'd be talking. So we talk it got us.
What a great thing. What a great bonding.
Yeah. And that's exactly why I did it. I could give a shit about I'm not competitive. Fuck, I lost. So, I'm just happy that we talk every week and he's really smart. He's a jockey, helps me, he tells me what to do. So yeah.
I tried that with younger people that I was at, that not my son, but they could be my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at a production studio, this guy, Vinny, he's like, "Hey man, you want to do fantasy football with us?" They were all in their 30s. And I said, my brain doesn't work like that. It's like reading music to me. I don't bet, number one, but it's not the betting part. I didn't understand the fantasy aspect of it. Like, I love a football team. I had certain players that I liked. I used to bet with bookies, probably illegal.
Oh, I did that with the sheets. That was glorious, man. You put those sheets in high school every week. Yeah.
And
that was great.
I did that, and I followed the New York Giants, and I followed the Boston Red Sox. It was the teams I was raised to like.
Wait a minute. How the hell do you follow the Red Sox?
My father, that big son of a bitch, that Irishman, he was raised, he liked the New York Giants football, but he forbid me to like the New York Yankees.
Really?
Yeah,
it's almost like sacrilege.
Yeah, I think he liked abuse because except for championship games in his lifetime, he only saw the Giants win one time in '86 against, I think it was the Denver Broncos. And the Red Sox, with Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells.
He never saw the Red Sox win. He died. My father died in 2000. So the Red Sox now have gotten that monkey off their back, but in fact, the Yankees are finally having a good year right now. But it's so funny. Two teams that would be a lot of emotional abuse to follow.
Yeah, man, for sure. Hey, 2 more questions. Toughest decision that you've ever had to make, or most difficult thing you've had to do?
I think, good question. I had to leave a situation that was very musical. This is business decision, where I had to quit a situation with a very, very big, well-known artist because it was the right thing to do. And so I can't give you details about that.
Sure.
But it was something that on paper people would say, "What are you, a schmuck? Are you crazy? Why would you leave this?" Well, there was a reason. So
just wasn't wasn't a good gig for you.
Some stuff that I couldn't go forward with a good conscience, and so it's a combination of standing up for myself, which was something I wasn't very good at, but also knowing I can't in good conscience.
Good for you, man.
Situation. Yeah.
And the last question, what's been the biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years? And how much of that change has been intentional and how much is just a natural process of aging?
Probably the stopping the drinking. That's made the single biggest personal change in my life in the last 25 years, never mind 10.
That's great.
Looking back, because I can see it now clearly, the progression of drinking and things not happening in my career very well, because I would say no to everything. It was becoming a fulfilling, feeling sorry for you. When you're depressed, when someone's a depressed person and alcohol is a depressant, it took me a while to believe that, because alcohol also stimulated me. Apparently, a lot of people that have problems with alcohol, it acts as a stimulant. Like, I would get energized.
Oh, you get energized, but mentally you get down.
Yeah, but I didn't see that part.
Yeah.
So that's
for you, man. Yeah, it's interesting because I know, like, if I'm down, like, I'll usually have a drink with Ann on a Friday or Saturday night. But if I'm having a bad day, I don't, because
Wow.
yeah, because I don't want to be especially if I'm down. The last thing I want to do is, oh, let me be more down.
You know better. Yeah, I would do that. That's when I would drink the most, which I
Yeah,
down most of
which
the
is
time. Yeah.
yeah, which is more often than not. But I'm happy for you, man. Again. Hey, listen, let me tell people where to find you. First of all, thank you very much, man. You're a really sweet guy. I
My
appreciate you being
pleasure.
so
I
sincere,
enjoyed
man.
this, Greg. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's John McCurry, and he's such a badass. He does not need a web page, but let me tell you where you can find him. First of all, he's out with Sarah Schmidt, and they're doing Sweet Lorraine, and you can find their dates at Sweet Lorraine, LORRAINE, NYC.com. So if you're going to be in the city, check them out and come say hi to John. He is also, you can find him on Facebook at GM. Just look up John McCurry, but it's GM, the letter G and the letter M, DEE, GMD Town. And also on Facebook, you can find him there in the John McCurry. He is available if anybody's interested. He's a hell of a strong writer. So if you are looking for someone to help you with some situations where it's like television or commercials, or you need some session work, he does a lot of session work in the city. And do you want to plug your daughter's name? Is she playing out?
Yes, she's got a band right now called Castle Rat. I believe it's Castle Rat, spelled like castle and rat, and she's on the Instagram. The kids are on the Instagram and the Facebook. Her stage name, her name is Riley, Riley Pinkerton, Pinkerton.
What kind of music is she doing?
She's right now doing music that I think Alice Cooper would enjoy.
Oh, that's cool.
Believe me, I have heavy metal friends who have caught her, and I've just said, come and see this at Mercury Lounge, because I'm literally like this going, I love that, and I've written pretty heavy licks in my day, as well as very light, airy things. She was doing this sort of banjo organic thing when she was in Michigan with a girlfriend, and it was beautiful. It sounded like old timey music. She has transcended.
That's like when you change your sex, isn't it?
That's a bad thing. Yeah, transgendered. That's
oh.
A beautiful young lady. Into this metal, dark, but amazing stuff.
That's awesome, man.
She writes these riffs that are I'm just like blown away.
And she's a guitar player as well?
Yeah. Well,
that's so cool.
Absolutely nothing to help. She wouldn't let me show her a D chord. She told me, no, thank you.
That's awesome.
She was a kid. Yeah.
Well, check her out. It's Castle Rat and Riley Pinkerton, and you can find them on socials. Dude, any final words of wisdom?
Geez, kids, don't do as I do. Do as I
do as I do. Do as I do now.
Yeah, do as I do now, and don't wait till you're 88 years old to figure it out. But,
no, man. We're all figuring it out every day. Who the hell has all the answers, right?
Right, exactly. It's been a pleasure, man.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for being so supportive always of the show, and I'm really glad we got to connect. And I'll definitely see you when we get to New York.
You bet. Yes.
Hang on one second. Let me wrap this up. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Check out John McCurry in the city if you're in New York. SweetLorraineNYC.com. And if you don't know Alice Cooper's song Poison, John co-wrote that. It's a great track. Go listen to it. And look him up on Wikipedia or on allmusic.com. He's got a shit ton of credits. And stay tuned. The best is yet to come. Coming up next year. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. John, thank you for everything, bro.